Hello, today is Tuesday, February 3rd. I am gone today, which is why you were watching me on a video. So you're going to start with filling out your planner. You have two ed puzzles. This is one of them. So when this is done, that's one of them. The other one is going to be the Bill Nye ed puzzle. As a reminder, CHO is due today, and I'm going to jump out of this. I'm going to jump into Google Classroom. If you needed more time to fill out your planner, please pause your video so you know what you're writing. Pause your video and then keep going. So for the CHO, as a reminder, I want you to turn it in on Google Classroom, and I don't want you to share it with me because that sends me an email, and I don't need 125 emails for this one. On other things, I'll take an email. This isn't one of them because you can turn it in on Google Classroom. So how you would do that is you would jump into your Science Google Classroom, and then you'd find the CHO that was on Thursday the 29th, and it's probably down below somewhere going to say view instructions or view materials, something like that. You're going to click on it. Now mine is going to look just a little different than yours because I'm not a student, but it looks similar to this, but over here is where your assignment would show up, and that is where a turn in button would also show up. So again, Google Classroom for science, classwork, finding the CHO assignment, which was on Thursday. Down below, view instructions. If you are done and ready to turn it in, great. If not, don't turn it in. I'm just going to send it back to you. Over here, your copy is showing up, the one with your name. That's where you click turn in when you are ready. It was due today. All right, so we filled in our planner. We've talked about CHO and how to turn that in. Food chain projects can be turned in whenever you are done. Sticky notes should be on the wall. Put yours in the correct hour. So there's hours 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Put yours as close to the sticky note for your hour as you can. If you were not here yesterday, go get a direction sheet. It's in the extra copy bin. So you can look through that. So as a reminder, you needed one producer. So something that is a plant or comes from a plant, an apple, a acorn, a peanut, grass, something to start out your food chain. And then you need 3 consumers after that in a row. So what eats your producer? What eats that primary consumer, that first consumer? That'd be your secondary, and then what eats that. So 3 consumers in a row. So here's a couple more examples. I told you yesterday that these ones here on the right are my favorite because I could never do them, ever. I'm not crafty at all. So this one, I think maybe this one is I think both of these are from the internet. Usually I try and do some from my class. That doesn't always work because sometimes I forget to take pictures or I can't find the pictures. So this one, the only thing that would be missing is the actual labels. So I would write it on the bottom here, write out your actual food chain, or on the back, right? So this looks like a frog to me, so whatever was in here, it's hard to see. So some kind of food that the frog eats, some kind of producer, frog, fish, what is this thing? Can't think of the name of that right now. A walrus, and then the polar bear. So they actually have an extra consumer. That's impressive. That's impressive. And then just another example here. I get lots of these every year of paper plates. As a reminder, you cannot print your pictures in color. If you want to print coloring sheets and color them, you can do that, but you can't print colored pictures and think you're going to get full credit, where it says 5 points for being creative and neat and nice and neat. That isn't very creative to just print them off. So you would not get full credit. I also need any writing that's done to be done in your handwriting, not your dad's, not your grandma's, not your mom. You need to do the writing. You need 1 producer and 4 consumers. If you can't write 5 words, no, 4 words, 4 words by 5th grade, ooh. Right? And if you try your best, that's all I need. If your adult wants to help you with spelling, that's fine. They don't need to write it for you. This is your project. You can do it yourself. So they can help you come up with ideas and maybe cut. I tried to help my When my daughter was in 8th grade, I was trying to help her cut. I got demoted. She wouldn't let me. I'm not a very good cutter. And then this one was from just last year. This was like an origami. It's the first time I've ever had that. Almost like origami type animals. It was very cool. So this is one from class, because you can see my green chair back there. This one is not. These drawings are beautiful, but for my project, they're missing labels. So this would not earn full credit, even though the drawings are so, so beautiful and the coloring is so, so beautiful. For our project, you need labels on the specific producer. So that to me looks like a tulip or a rose. And then moving on, so you'd have to label whatever this thing is. Maybe a mosquito, a dragonfly, and then a fish, happens to be a fish, and then a seagull. Again, for consumers, that's lovely. You only need 3, but need them labeled with what they are, because some of us can't draw very well. Your arrows must point at the eater, because you will lose credit if you don't have them pointing in the right direction. And if you want more examples, there are some more on Google Classroom from yesterday, or search the internet. That's where a lot of people get their ideas from. Sawyer gave us this funny illusion. This one, I think I literally laughed out loud when he sent it to me. So funny. So funny. And I don't know if they're trying to do this on purpose. I don't know, but it's hilarious. It's kind of similar to that one I showed you in class with the person looking at the magazine, but the head was kind of turned and looking, and it couldn't tell what it is. It looks like we're sitting on a train or something like that, or a bus or whatever it might be. And the person is kind of leaning over, and the dog is sitting there perfectly. So it looks like a dog head on a human body. So funny. Steve, sent one of those crazy ones that's always moving for me. Always. Here we go. Yeah, that one's crazy. It's like vibrating and kind of spinning. Oh man, this one's going all over the place for me. All over. Some of you are probably yelling in your head right now, take that off the screen. It's giving me a headache. We are taking notes today. We haven't taken notes in a couple of days, so we have to keep going. So I thought today would be a good day to do that so that you could get going on your own. Good day to keep going on notes. So open your notebooks to the last thing we wrote. I think it was food webs. I'm pretty sure the last note we took was food webs. So look for that in your notebook. Pause your video if you're still digging, because I don't want to go too fast. Otherwise, we're going to keep going. Here we go. We briefly talked about primary consumers the last time we took notes, briefly. So a primary, anytime, I think I talked about how if I were to call your primary contact, it would be the first person they want me to call. So primary is the first eater in a food chain. For those of you that have guided notes, cannot be carnivores needs to be added in. There isn't a line for it, so you're just going to have to sneak it in. I added it in after I printed for you. So you will have to add in cannot be carnivores. And I would make that cannot big. Primary consumers cannot be carnivores because they eat producers. So they can be herbivores, they can be omnivores, they cannot be a carnivore because they have to eat the plants. After primary, if you need more time, you need to pause your video. Okay. We have secondary. I'll let you know when I'm going to move on and you need to pause, but for now I'm kind of just giving some natural breaks while you write. Okay, pause your video if you're still writing. Pause if you're still writing. If you're done writing, I'm going to talk. It's hard to listen and write. So secondary is the easiest one in my opinion because it says second. So it's the second eater. It's not the second thing necessarily in a food chain or food web, right? Because the second thing is actually this. Because first you have a producer, then you have a primary. That's why you must have the word consumer. The secondary consumer is the second eater, and they eat primary consumers. They could be omnivores, right? They can be omnivores, but they for sure cannot be herbivores. So once you leave this first level, no more herbivores. They're either omnivores or carnivores. So the second eater eats the consumers, other consumers, eats meat. So is either going to be a carnivore or an omnivore. Cannot be herbivores in this level. Cannot. Herbivores are only in that first primary because they only eat producers. And then we have tertiary, and I had mentioned that I have no tricks. I'm sorry, I'm going to move my head here so you can see everything. I have no tricks for tertiary other than it's the third eater, and they both start with T. That's all I've got. Tertiary, and it's the third eater. Not the third in the row. It's the third thing to do some eating. So you have to follow all the arrows and count. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. Pause your video if you need more time to write. So again, no tricks. Primary, you just have to know is first. It's the most important. I don't know. It's just how I remember what primary is first. Secondary is easy. It's the second eater, consumer. And tertiary, we're going to remember T for third. And it's the third eater, the third thing that ate, and also cannot be herbivores anymore. You're not drawing this. You're already working on a food chain project. You don't need to draw this. Where should I put me? Over here. Whoops. So this is a model, and a model can be anything. You're making models for your food chain. Some will be on paper. Some will be from Legos. Some will be 3D printed. Some will be figurines, right? All of those are models, ways we can see ideas. So when we're looking here, the producers won't have any arrows pointing at them because they don't eat anything. So remember, the arrow points at the eater. So it doesn't eat anything. So algae is going to be eaten by limpets. So this for sure is a producer. And then phytoplankton is going to be eaten by fish and zooplankton and mussels. So the producers do not have an arrow at them because they don't eat anything. And then the first thing is the primary. The second eater is the secondary, and the third eater is the tertiary. Okay, so producer, first is primary eater, second is secondary eater, third is tertiary. And sometimes you got to follow multiple arrows because on this one, right, we only have a 1, 2. So here it kind of looks like the human is the secondary eater. It's not, because over here we went 1, 2, 3. So the human is actually the tertiary. So you kind of got to follow a couple different paths to figure it out. No writing to be done, no drawing to be done, just a discussion. Here's where we start our writing again. So skip a line. An energy pyramid, which is kind of just like an energy triangle, because we don't ever really make them 3D. Energy pyramids show that the number of organisms and food available decreases, which means goes down, as we move up this triangle or energy pyramid. So again, this shows that as we go from the bottom, where all the producers are located, to the top with our tertiary consumers, our big eaters usually. Not like, well, maybe big for food too, but big in size usually. There are less of those. So if you think about it, there are more trees on the earth than there are bears. There is more grass on the earth than there is wolves, right? Those tertiary consumers, there's a lot less of those than there are producers. So down here, we have a lot of organisms, right? A lot of living biotic organisms here, producers. And as you go up, the type of organisms amount gets smaller and smaller and smaller. A lot less lions and tigers and bears and wolves and even humans compared to grass, right? There's probably more grass in the world than any of those other animals I just mentioned. Pause your video if you're still writing. Sorry, I forgot about this one. So that also means chemical energy decreases as we move up the chain. And you can put this right with it. If you skipped a line already, that's cool. All right, moving on. Pause your video if you need more time. You're going to draw this energy pyramid. I don't care how big it is. If you want to go to the next page and make it take up the whole page, great. You're going to have to do some writing in here, so it can't be too little. There are some words that I'm going to go in here. It needs 1, 2, 3, 4 levels. So on the bottom, producers only in the bottom. That's what you're writing in the bottom. Producers only. And then as we go up, primary consumers, herbivores or omnivores, can be either one, cannot be carnivores, because basically it's saying, I eat anything in here or below me, right? Carnivores will not eat producers, so they cannot go here. Carnivores cannot be here. This level will eat what's below it. Next, after primary, is the secondary. Now it can be carnivores or omnivores. This is where our carnivores come in. Because we're saying, I will eat this level and what's below it. And for some, I might even eat below that too. Carnivores would stay right here and eat the meat. Carnivores are not dropping down here. And last, we have the third, or tertiary. At least in 5th grade, this is where we stop. 5th grade, this is where we stop. Tertiary, again, the carnivores or the omnivores, because the omnivores might want to drop down here, eat some plant life. The carnivores will not. Carnivores will stay in these 3 levels. Eat meat only, other animals only. So again, pause your video if you need more time. Producers only at the bottom. We always start a food chain or food web with producers. Always, always, always. Either a plant or something that comes from a plant, like a banana or an apple or an orange or an acorn or other, something else that comes from a plant, right here. What eats that are called primary consumers. Okay, a herbivore or an omnivore is going to eat that plant. Okay, what comes next are secondary consumers. They could be omnivores, because they might drop down here, right, and eat meat, or straight up carnivores, only the meat eaters, which would be right here. And then we have tertiary, and we said we're going to remember that because it's the third eater, and 3 and tertiary start with T, and they can be carnivores or omnivores. If they're carnivores, they're only eating from this. They might eat, they might eat each other, to be honest, or other bigs. They would eat this or this and stop. Omnivores would eat this and this and this and this. Bears would be a great example of omnivores up here. Large bears. They will eat meat and they will eat berries. Right? They will eat fish, which might be right here. They will eat berries or honey or something down here. Excellent work. Here's an example. You are not drawing. You are not writing this. Producers, right? Grasshoppers and bunnies are probably herbivores, right? They eat the plants. We have snakes and raccoons. Snakes are probably carnivores, which are going to eat these guys. Raccoons are omnivores. They'd eat some veggie stuff. And then we have the tertiary, the third eater, because this is number 1 eater, number 2 eater, number 3 eater in the line. And I think this would probably be a carnivore, and this I just said is an omnivore. It is now time to switch gears for a little Bill Nye food web. A little more exciting from Bill Nye. So that is next on your list. Send me an email if you have any questions, and don't forget to turn in CHO when you're done. Thank you.